Hey there guys, this is TheBassSinger 13 here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Compare and Contrast, where we put in two separate games and compete them to see which was, oh my god, I'm comparing two Smash Bros. Games, aren't I? I'm fucked. Super Smash Bros. Melee, released in 2001, is a sequel to the acclaimed Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, and it's the Smash Bros. Game that many players enjoy to this day, especially in the competitive scene. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U is the recent Smash Bros. Entry up until Ultimate's release date, which is pretty close by the time I upload this. This is gonna be a dead game, ain't it? Nah, but for real, Wii U was the go-to Smash Bros. Title at the time of its release, and the sole reason why Wii U's were not collecting dust in 2014. You have to owe a lot of Ultimate's inspiration towards Wii U, as without it, I don't think Ultimate has gotten as much hype as it is to this day. So to celebrate the release date of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I decided to cover these two games specifically. So, which one's better? Let's find out. This is Super Smash Bros. Melee versus Super Smash Bros. For Wii. That is a dumb title. No story mode for either one of these games. The closest we get is an adventure mode for Melee, and, well, nothing for the Wii U. Adventure mode is pretty much an abridged version of each franchise, minus Game & Watch and Fire Emblem, even after you unlock those characters. So instead, I'm going to go over the character roster for each game. Super Smash Bros. Melee contains a total of 26 playable characters with different sets of IPs of various Nintendo titles, with returning IPs such as Mario with two separate sub-IPs like Donkey Kong and Yoshi, Metroid, Zelda, Star Fox, Kirby, and Pokemon. Some of these IPs also include extra newcomers along with all veterans returning. New IPs consist of Ice Climbers, Fire Emblem, and Mr. Game & Watch, which make their debut in this game. Controversially, this game also introduced the use of clone characters with a total of 6 of them. Most of these characters are either literal clones of their original counterparts, characters from the same franchise, and unique personalities, but still copy and pasted for their movesets, and Ganondorf, who's a Captain Falcon clone for some reason. Yeah, I understand that these characters don't really take too much development time, and there are some characters that feel like their own unique character, despite sharing the same attributes as their original. But honestly, who could realistically request Dr. Mario and Pichu as playable fighters? I'm not too much of a fan of these Echo fighters in general, but I will say that their inclusion is harmless. Well, except for maybe Ganondorf. I may main you in Melee, but I do think he should have been his own character. Most of the archetypes and the majority of these characters do fit in their playstyle. Mario is the all-around average fighter, with Luigi being a goofier counterpart, Marth and Roy utilizing their sword attacks in a fashion that would make sense for their personalities. Even Ganondorf, despite me criticizing his move pool, does fit well to the strong and slow demeanor he reverberates, similar to his Ocarina of Time counterpart. Mr. Game & Watch is my favorite example. He represents pretty much all of his Game & Watch incarnations. We got fast characters like Fox and Captain Falcon, technical characters like Ice Climbers. I'd say the majority of these characters' playstyles are very fun, with some exception. I never really liked playing Bowser at all. He's supposed to be slow and strong, similar to Ganondorf, but I feel the majority of the cast easily outranges him. Pichu is also a character I feel meant to be as a joke character, the Dan Hibiki of Smash Bros, if you will. It is funny when you get humiliated by Pichu, but realistically, I don't see the point of his inclusion. By the way, a little off topic, I keep hearing Pichu is referred to as a she, but if this is the same Pichu that evolved into the Pikachu in Brawl, wouldn't it be a he since his tail is shaped like a traditional male Pikachu? Back to topic, Jigglypuff is a huge glass cannon being able to kill very easily with her massive aerial attacks and rest attack, at the price of also being killed easily with her floatiness. Let's go on to the tier list, and well, we kinda have some issues. You will never see any of these middle tier characters or below in competitive play with a few exceptions. Pikachu and Yoshi tend to be the more popular mid tier pick. I do think that E tier characters can hold on their own and can be viable at times, but I never really see a lot of F and G tier characters. They tend to be not as good as competitive play. They can be played competitively, and when one of them actually wins, it's certainly a fun time to be had, but realistically, I've seen a lot of Fox, Falco, Sheik, Marth, anywhere from S tier to B tier. Now personally, I don't think Fox is the absolute best to the point where he gets his own tier. I've seen him fail a lot of matchups against Jigglypuff and Marth, but I'm not going to deny the fact that he is very good at what he does. Most of the top tier characters have the speed, the combos, aerial game. The abilities that they utilize are exemplified to the point where not a whole lot of bottom tier characters can do much unless the player themselves are actually that good. Moving into the Wii U side, we got 58 characters, more than double the amount of Melee has, with all veteran characters returning, minus Pichu and Young Link. And, most unfortunately, Ice Climbers, who felt more unique out of all the characters. Characters like Roy, Lucas, and Mewtwo return at the cost of DLC, Snake and Wolf also got the boot from Brawl, and Pokemon Trainer ditched alongside with Squirtle and Ivysaur, leaving Charizard to fend for his own. But in replacement of them comes what I believe is the most cohesive fighter roster to this date. Well, at least until Ultimate's released. They got third-party companies, Mega Man, Sonic, and Pac-Man star by default, with Cloud, Ryu, and Bayonetta getting in as DLC. To top it off, more fighters. Shulk and Little Mac make their debut appearances, representing their own franchise, Robin and Rosalina to represent the Mario and Fire Emblem series, even out-of-the-box characters like Wii Fit and Duck Hunt. These characters were fantastic inclusions. Honestly, with the exception of maybe some cuts, this was a very balanced roster. Minus these three. Dr. Mario's back, yeah, but at the very least he doesn't feel too similar to Mario, so I'm gonna excuse him. Lucina does have some differences between Marth. Her tippers are not as strong, but her mid-game is definitely balanced well enough for her to be somewhat of a stand-up character. Now Dark Pit on the other end, yeah, he has no excuse. He has only two differences, his special and his side special. Other than that, he plays exactly the same as Pit. If he played more differently, I wouldn't be ranting on him so much. Ganondorf is a special exception though. While it's clear that he's similar to Captain Falcon, they declonified him a little bit more to make him more stand out. With 58 characters showcased, there's bound to be one character among some of your favorites. Once again, beginner-friendly characters, glass cannons, and technical characters are there, with even more options like Little Mac being absolutely strong on the ground, but fairly weak in the air, and technical characters like Rosalina utilizing her Luma to be a puppet character and mimic her abilities. They also play very faithfully to how they would normally play, Bayonetta being very combo-oriented, much like her hack-and-slash game engine, Shulk using his Monado powers to cover up his weakness for a brief time, Ryu having quarter circle and DP motion to amplify his attacks. The fanservice is certainly strong with this game, and every character represented is how they should be represented. Tier list, while not exactly much of an issue as Melee, there are some problems with top tier characters clearly dominating over bottom tiers. This is what the tier list looks like, and around D and G tier is when you are guaranteed to lose at an EVO. I would have also included C tier as well, however Mega Man made it to the grand finals, so maybe it's possible that the tier list may not be 100% definitive. To be fair, Melee had 14 years to develop its tier list with no balance patches whatsoever, while Wiiu has its updates to balance their characters. But regardless, even without taking C tier into account, this is more balanced than Melee with a total of 20 characters being competitively viable compared to the 8 in Melee. Even if you disregard B tier, you still get 11 characters that can get the work done. People like to argue about Bayonetta being definitively overpowered even after the nerf she's gotten. I'm not as proficient with Wiiu compared to Melee, so excuse me for my ignorance since I can't say this with absolute confidence, but her Lado combo kinda feels overly exaggerated. Melee had Ice Climbers with wobbling, and that's pretty overpowered, yet they're close to being bottom of the top tier list. Also, Cloud and Diddy Kong share the same tier as Bayonetta, so how come I don't hear people complain about them? That being said, yeah, this latter combo definitely feels overpowered. I can't really do it personally, but I imagine if I knew how to read my opponents instantly, I can easily perform this combo as well. It does feel like an easy win button, but I'd also argue that it's possible to avoid it. Plus, plenty of other characters can get some work done with their own unique combos as well. I personally don't think she's that big of a deal, but I have to admit I'm not completely an expert in Wiiu's metagame. So, out of the two roster, who wins over what? Wiiu. I mean, it's kind of obvious, even taking the competitive scene aside. Wiiu has way more characters, way more archetypes for those characters, and trimmed down the clone characters to only 3, and made sure that the original Echo stands out more than their original characters. The Wii U version made sure that the majority of the characters feel special and unique, and while we can determine which game was overall broken compared to the other, that doesn't change the fact that the Wii U is a technical marvel. 5 different companies representing one video game, that's a huge accomplishment. The Wii U game just simply has both the quality control and the quantity to completely overshadows Melee's roster. I do say that since Melee was the second title in the series, it definitely had a lot of time to mature. However, the Wii U version just seems a lot more impressive with the amount of third parties it had. But I don't think a roster is a definitive way to explain whether or not that's a good game or not. A big roster can't do very well without its gameplay. For the similarities, the objective for both games is pretty much to ram your opponents off the stage and KO them, and you do so by building up damage to increase knockback, making it easier to KO your opponents. There's Time Battle, where the goal is to knock out your opponents as much as possible before the time runs out, Stock, where you're given a specific amount of lives before a winner is decided, Coin Battles, where you are collecting as many coins as possible and knocking an opponent out gives you even more coins, and last but not least... That's all in terms of traditional multiplayer content, but Melee and Wii U offers more special modes for their games, as well as making it more fun and casual. For Melee, we got this mess, oh god. Okay, I'm not gonna be completely too negative. Stamina mode is fun, it makes it feel more like a traditional fighting game. Sudden Death is also very fun too, being a one-hit KO slobber knocker. I will say it's probably a lot more fun if you rank up the stocks to like 10 or 20 though. But then we got modes like single button. Why does this exist? There are some other modes I realize, but I really don't want to bother with them. The same kind of goes for the Wii U as well, although I will say that they are definitely a lot more organized. I never really had a whole lot of fun trying to play any of these, call me bland or whatever, but I like the traditional stock and time battles. Oddly enough though, tournament mode is not present within the Wii U version unless you go online. Now why is that? Melee did have a tournament mode offline. It's not actually used in official tournaments, and my Jesus, why would you have a tournament where winners loses? But it's there for anyone who wants the regular single elimination tournament. That's all for the multiplayer aspects of the game, but what about the single player content? Well, look no further. For both games, we got a traditional classic mode with Melee being somewhat of an equivalent of an arcade mode in like other fighting games, where you fight against specific opponents, followed by various bonus games like Target Smash, Trophy Snag, and Race to the Finish. Alongside certain fights that require you to fight either a team of enemies, a metal enemy, or a giant enemy. With the finale being the privilege to fight Master Hand, and if you're lucky enough, or play Classic Mode on hard difficulty, Crazy Hand, a left-hand equivalent to Master Hand. Classic Mode also has two different sliders, one for difficulty and one for stock options, ranging to 1 to 5 stocks, and the difficulty ranging from very easy, easy, normal, hard, and very hard. Looking at the Wii U version, we got 10 difficulties from 0 to 9, alongside 10 sub-difficulties ranging from 0.0 to 0.9, making a total of 100 different difficulties. But the classic mode for the Wii U version is not a traditional classic mode. You get to choose different opponents. I usually go for the ones with less enemies in order to make it less chaotic, and fight them with no bonus minigames anywhere in the middle. Why is that? Once you fight an onslaught of randomized opponents, ranging from randomized quantity, you fight against the Fighting Meat team, basically the replacement for the Fighting Polygon and Wireframes from previous titles and afterwards. You get to fight off against Master Hand and Crazy Hand depending on the difficulty, and if you're feeling even more ambitious on the harder difficulties, it lets you fight newer boss enemies, a gauntlet of bad guys formed by Master Hand, called in order Master Giant, Master Beast, Master Edges, and lastly Master Fortress. Oh shit, I actually forgot about Master Shadow. Damn it. Although honestly, could you even consider this boss? It's literally a dark clone of yourself. There is a lot of boss battles to consider, but their tells are fairly obvious, so with enough practice, they're not as bad. Master Beast personally got on my nerves though, but I think that might be because I go ham on him too much. I'm a little more mystified that this is called Classic Mode when it doesn't really follow any classic rules traditional. With the exception of the final boss battles, everything feels completely different from the 64, Melee, and Brawl era of Classic Mode. No classic rounds, no organized rounds, not even any minigames. It's just really straightforward, and I don't think I like this new change. The lack of one-on-one battles also feel awkward. There are some, if you get lucky enough to get them, but for the most part it'll be 5 players, 6 players, or 8 player fights, and the metal and giant characters are combined with these encounters, making the already randomized fight more problematic. I like Melee's version of Classic Mode way more. Not to say that there aren't some issues. For example, I've yet to encounter a Ganondorf or Roy, and all team battles are specifically set to specific characters. Mario, Ness, and Donkey Kong, and you'll never see a team of Peach or Team Mewtwo for some reason. But they're a lot more fun to play, and I wouldn't want that formula to change drastically. For other game modes, like All-Star, you fight a gauntlet of every single character in Smash Bros., with the Wii U version being unlocked from the very beginning, with some missing characters to compensate for the unlockable characters. Out of the two, I definitely give the Wii U version more credit. I think they handled All-Star mode a lot better here. It's organized by the newest release of characters to the oldest characters, so you'll fight Corrin first and Mr. Game & Watch last. It's organized and cohesive, while Melee is a lot more random. For Melee, there are some ideas I like. For example, you fight only 1 enemy for the first batch of characters, then it jumps to 2, and then later 3 the longer you go, with Mr. Game & Watch being the final encounter, but when you fight Game & Watch, it's another team battle. I felt as though this inclusion was odd. I would have preferred you to fight a harder version of him, instead of fighting multiple versions of him. True, the Wii U version doesn't organize it by 1 player, then 2 players, and so on and so forth, but come on, look at the roster. We'll be here all day if we go by that method, so I think the Wii U version is the best in terms of All-Star mode. On to more similarities. Event matches are a thing. These are basically battles to overcome with a variety of different challenges. It could be a traditional All-Star Fight Club, or it could be something creative like Pokemon battles, Godzilla vs. King Kong, exploiting the dumb AI. Joking aside, I believe these are the perfect sets of challenges. They are organized properly by difficulty, you get to unlock more depending on the characters you've unlocked, giving you the incentive to come back later, and all these challenges are creative and fun as hell. With the Wii U, oh god, what the hell is this? This layout just looks awful. Why does it start in the middle section? And for the record, why do we start with only 4 matches? In Melee, it gave you 10 matches from the start. It's a shame too, because some of these event matches are actually pretty creative. I think the one where Wii Fit Trainer puts 2 warriors into shape was funny, and each event matches also brings its own sub-challenges as well, like doing it under a certain time limit or on the hardest difficulty. But there are also some huge stinkers too. I really hated this gourmet race event, but for the most part, while the majority of these are fairly basic, there are some hidden gems underneath this horrid menu layout. These event matches are also co-op, leading to some more fun if you want a friend along. It's just that the event matches present in this game are uninspiring boring or uninteresting. The beauty of these event matches in Melee is that you can't do these events anywhere else. Well, for the most part, I imagine that some of these events can be portrayed as challenges in regular Melee, but a lot of these matches are somewhat exclusive in event matches and can't be done without the use of action replay or modding the game. We use event matches, I can easily do them in regular Smash. Do I really need an event for the amount of coins I need to gather when I could just play coin battle? There's also 3 last game modes that Melee and Wiiu share, and that is Target Smash, Home Run Contest, and Multi-Man Smash. Home Run Contest has you beating up against the sandbag to... Hold on. Home Run Contest has you beating up... Gosh dang it. Home Run... Damn it, why are there no walls? This really limits the options. I can't really do much without doing the same repeated meteor smash combo over and over again. What's worse is that the C-Stick doesn't even function properly, and... Can I just say, for Melee, why the hell does the C-Stick move the camera? This does not need to be a vital function. I mainly use the C-Stick for aerials and smash attack, but this limits my versatility so much, and some of these characters are completely disadvantageous due to the fact that they can't showcase too much power due to the lack of a meteor smash on their attacks. And because of that, it keeps on knocking the sandbag away. For the most part, the Wii U version is pretty much the same, except it actually has a barrier, thank God! This gives the mode so much more freedom, utilizing attacks that are less reliant and repetitive motions, well, except for maybe Ganon, he's such a powerhouser. But I like this way more, it's a lot more fun to perform various different combos. I also like the fact that the more you wall bounce, the weaker the barrier gets until it eventually cracks, making you really think about what kind of combos you should do. To be fair, the barrier was introduced in Brawl, but I'm glad they brought it back for the Wii U. Man, if this version improves so much from just this mode alone, I can't wait to see how they do Target Smash, son of a bitch. It's an Angry Birds clone, and, well, I will say it is fun once in a while, however, it loses its luster after a third try. I mostly do this just to unlock the achievements. Melee is much more amazing. Each character has their own Target Smash that's exclusive to their own abilities, such as utilizing Young Link's wall jumps and boomerang. Not every character has this luxury though, I don't know exactly what the hell Luigi's Target Smash is training him for. But a lot of these Target Smash stages has something to do with their character's abilities, it's as if they were somewhat of a tutorial of how to play these characters. There's even nice little nods to their origins, like Ice Climbers resembling the Ice Climbers game, Mr. Game & Watch fighting inside of Mr. Game & Watch. Alright, well that is 1 for 1. What do we do about the Multi-Man Smash? It's exactly the same. Wii U does remove 15-minute Smash, and honestly, thank God they did. 15-minute was just way too much to fight any single stock. I remember how annoying it is for Melee when you were forced to play this mode just to unlock Congo Jungle. But yeah, Multi-Man Smash didn't really innovate too much, although the Wii U does introduce Rival Smash, which pits you against a CPU or another opponent and ranks both players on how many enemies they've KO'd. That pretty much ends the game modes both games share, as the rest of the game modes are Wii U exclusive. Master Orders and Crazy Orders are a set of challenges that reward you with various unlockables like CDs and custom parts. These are a fun way to get as much unlocked as possible if you're willing to grind it out. More of a fan of Crazy Orders since you unlock so many more items. Master Orders is a lot less risky, but it's a one and done deal. The Wii U version also has Smash Tour, a board game like party mode where you gather items, fighters, and face them against a battle royale to see who wins. It's not fun at all. This was supposed to be the biggest game mode, hence why it's showcased so promptly on the title screen. But I don't think anyone is going to cry over the fact that it's removed in Ultimate. The Wii U version also got online mode as well, and it's somewhat hit or miss. I have a somewhat decent internet connection, and there are definitely some button input lag. But at the very least, the game itself doesn't lag too much. I have managed to face against players with some stutters and pauses, but when 2 players who have steady internet connection fight, it's a blast. Most of these fights are so amazing. If I was any good with Smash Bros for Wii U, I think I'd join EVO. The lag mostly occurs in free-for-all and team battles, where the lag is connected peer-to-peer. Oh, and speaking of team battles and EVO and For Glory, I'm glad that there's something for the competitive crowd, but I gotta be honest, this isn't exactly what the competitive Smash has to offer. Final Destination is the only stage you play, which gives certain characters advantages and disadvantages from the get-go. For the people who take the Fox-only Final Destination mentality way too seriously, you guys realize there are more legal stages than just FD, right? Team battles are not one-to-one either, it's a time battle with friendly fire off. Now, when people question why friendly fire is on during competitive tag team battles, I'd just like to reiterate that there's methods and tricks that actually benefit team attack, like Flood's Water and Link's Boomerang. Mostly abridging it, but it also builds trust among teammates when you go offensive or let your teammate handle the job for you. Without it, it's just a non-stop smash attack knockoff, and it just kills the meta too much. Other miscellaneous modes featured are custom stages where you create a stage to battle whether goofy, complex, or artistic, spectator mode, and online-only event where you gamble virtual coins to see who wins, thank God there's no microtransactions here, and Trophy Rush where you basically beat up a bunch of boxes in order to unlock trophies and other customizable parts. The Wii U certainly packed a lot of content, however I argue there's a certain lack of quality. Classic mode is simply not classic mode, target smash is simply not target smash, and competitive online mode only portrays the bare basic of what actual competitive smash is. Event matches can be fun at times, and I do enjoy the crazy orders and 8-player smash from time to time, but these are not end-all be-all matches for me to sink into single-player content. Melee has more charm, more innovations, and brought back modes that are useful towards learning the game and bonus modes that are perfectly sensible. Of course, its major flaws are home run contests and the fact that the C-stick controls the camera, but most of Melee's best modes on Wii U are either the exact same or just completely neutered. In terms of speed, the character playstyle, I will say it's all dependent on your opinion, but I do like Melee's speed more. They are certainly harder to master. I imagine the more laid-back version of me likes how the Wii U version handles. I can't really formulate a full description in terms of my opinion. Despite these two games coming from the same franchise, they are drastically different in terms of game engine. But I do personally like Melee more in terms of combat. It might be nostalgia blindness, and might be my competitive side showing, but I just love the feel of Melee. With the exception of maybe L canceling, the amount of exploits and tricks you can do in Melee are so exhilarating and fun. I won't deny Wii's competitive side, it definitely has its own exploits and tricks such as Bido, and honestly, if I master these similar to how I master wave dashing in Melee, I think I might enjoy Wii U more. But overall, in terms of multiplayer content, single player content, and gameplay overall, I just like Melee more. This is the first time I've covered two different games from two different generations, so for this comparison, on top of the graphics, performance, and music, I will be comparing the game towards the hardware they're assigned to. Obviously, the Wii U version is going to have higher resolution, graphic fidelity, but I want to keep things fair and see if Melee looks as good as the GameCube can get. I gotta say, Melee's graphics are pretty damn good, probably one of the best looking GameCube games I've seen. Frame rate comes at a steady 60 frames per second, with the exception of maybe some stages, but it maintains that throughout the entirety of the game. Every character looks as though they are from their own retrospective series, and animations for this game is overall pleasant. That being said, it was a launch title, and because of that I do notice some cut corners in terms of sacrificing some graphic fidelity. Some stages do have a minimalistic design in terms of background decorations, but at the same time I do think that background decorations are kind of a distraction in terms of fighting games. The Wii U version also has amazing looking characters, and their animations are oh so vibrant as well, and tuned to their stance. One touch I absolutely like is the fact that some of these characters actually face towards the camera. Now, there are some exceptions, characters with a natural left-handed or right-handed stature, and characters who don't mirror themselves exactly, mostly face away from the camera depending on where they are facing or if they just look straight forward. But I do think it's a nice attention to detail as you get to see most of the characters' faces rather than their backs. I do wish that most of the stages, especially the ones in Melee and Brawl, are more vibrant though. Temple is an amazing example of how to revamp an old stage into the modern era, but stages like One Net and Yoshi's Island just look exactly the same, and I feel they're somewhat lazy. The more modern stages do showcase more graphic fidelity and background decorations, and thankfully they're not distracting by any means, so I do think that overall Wii U does have the advantage. The UI for Melee is basic, but certainly functional. The character icons and percentages are aligned to the character's ports, with player 1 being from the far left and player 4 being from the far right. Percentages also darken the higher it is, so it indicates to the player that higher percentage is bad. The timer is somewhat generic, but it does function as a timer. Character select screen, this is where I have some problems. It's functional, sure, but I don't think it's completely organized. There's a random function, but no actual random icon. The clone characters are slightly slanted off, and Ganondorf is next to Captain Falcon instead of the Legend of Zelda counterpart. Now, he is next to them, but he's not adjacent to them. In 64, I love the fact that the characters are organized by release date, with characters that share the same universe sharing the same slot. Melee only seems to follow that rule once, as not every single series is organized by chronological order. But this is honestly the best they can do, I feel. I can't really imagine how to organize the CSS properly without splitting the Zelda characters. The Wii U also has its fair share of issues as well, but they're at least organized well towards their chronological order, minus the content ROP, the exception of the clone characters, and DLC characters. I find it awkward that Pac-Man isn't alongside the third-party counterparts. He seems very lonely all by himself like that. I'd say this could have all been fixed if the Echo Fighters and DLC characters represent alongside their series, as well as Dark Pit next to Pit, Lucina next to Marth, and Mario next to Mario. On top of that, all the DLC characters represent their own series as well. Also, I just found out that Yoshi is between Bowser and Rosalina. Why is that? I thought Yoshi represented his own series. At first I thought maybe they were trying to separate Rosalina from the Mario crew, since she does have a different victory theme, but then Bowser Jr. is next to her, so what gives? Also, who else here is not a big fan of the menu layout? There's no options menu. For some reason it's under vaults, and Smash Tour gets its own tab in the main menu. This is easily one of the worst modes ever. Why would this be its own separate tab? Why can't it be in Games and More? Sure, Melee is somewhat bland and dated, I realize, but the first time you look at the menu, bam, all the necessary tabs are present, and they even give you hints as to what's next when you click on the tab. The Wii U doesn't have that at all. It overemphasizes the bad modes and doesn't even give us the necessary modes in general. Worse, they also mislabel them into other tabs. Trophy Rush is its own game mode. Why is it under vaults? And do I even need to talk about the layout for Event Match again? On the bright side, this game does play at a constant 60 frames per second, even when battles get too chaotic and 8 players are fighting. It still maintains a steady frame rate. True, not all stages are available, but I'm perfectly fine with that sacrifice. Character icons are a lot more centered as well, and I find them a lot more attractive. It makes things way easier on the eyes having the character's percentages centered rather than focus on the bottom left-hand corner, where player 1 and player 2 are naturally located in Melee. Timer is still functional similar to Melee, but I do think it's kind of worse considering how it's on the top right-hand corner. It would have looked a lot more appealing if it was centered the way Melee was, so that you don't have to dart your eyes all around the screen. Traditional fighting games always has the timer center. I don't know why Smash Bros. For Wii U wants to break that tradition. I do think the gameplay overall is going to be the deciding factor of which game you like better. Do you like Melee's more faster-paced technical combat, or do you like Wii U's more strategical combat with the variety of different roster? Both games are definitely enjoyable in their own ways, and I certainly have fun playing both of them without a doubt. However, personally, I love Melee's technical design a lot more. It was the first game that definitely got me into the competitive edge, and while it won't be enough for me to join in an EVO or an Apex without completely getting decimated, I have attended Melee tournaments before and had a lot of fun attending them. In fact, if you see the live stream for Blood, there I am, right there! I have attended some Wii U tournaments before, however they were mostly friendlies or casuals, and while I haven't really gotten completely competitive in the Wii U scene, I certainly respect what they have to offer. However, considering that Smash Bros. Ultimate is coming out soon, I don't think that the Wii U version is gonna survive at all. I think that most of the Wii U players will definitely migrate to Ultimate, if anything. But to leave it on a happy note, if you guys disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, both games are fun, and I don't mind if there is someone else that enjoys Wii U more than Melee for whatever reason. Because Smash Bros. Overall is definitely a fun series, a fantastic franchise that's produced miracle after miracle with each iteration. Mr. Masahiro Sakurai has definitely done himself very well with the development of each Smash Bros. Iteration, and without him, this series wouldn't be as fantastic as it is as of today. With Smash Bros. Ultimate garnering so much hype from not just the casual, the competitive, but from the Melee, the Brawl, the Wii U 64 communities as well, Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be a fun time, and I'm so glad to be part of the community. It kind of feels like family to me, you know? Anyways, that's enough rambling for sentimental values. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like down below, and if you guys have any comments, critique, and feedback, definitely give me any feedback as well. It is very much welcome. I'm always looking forward to improving my content, improving the quality of my videos, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is TheBassSinger, signing out.